At home, the Kings look unstoppable. Details on that and more on this edition of Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for the past 30 years, also co-host of the Puck Podcast, a weekly NHL review show that's been putting out content for the past 18 years, new episode out today, and a passionate LA Kings fan for over 30 years. Well, the LA Kings played game 69 of the NHL season, back-to-back home games this weekend as LA was coming off a dominant 7-2 win over one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference, the Carolina Hurricanes, on Saturday. The Kings snapping Carolina's 8-game winning streak to improve to 38-21-9 on the season, including 24-3-4 at home. LA would be hosting the Boston Bruins on Sunday, a team that is not going to be making the playoffs this year and was riding a 5-game losing streak coming in. Checking the lineup for the Kings, there would be a change due to injury. Unfortunately, Kings forward Trevor Moore is out indefinitely. They are calling it day-to-day with an upper body injury, and that's obviously tough news for Trevor Moore because he was just really starting to get going. He had 9 goals in his last 19 games. Now, it appears again that this is a minor injury. If you saw on social media, the Kings have a tradition after every game where the player of the game gets a fireman's helmet. And the player for that game is presented the helmet and is selected by the previous winner of the helmet the game before. So Trevor Moore, there's video of Trevor Moore after the game presenting Andrei Kuzmenko with the fireman helmet. And Trevor Moore has a quick something to say, and he walks over and he gives him the helmet and they give him a hug. And Trevor Moore looks completely fine. He's not limping. He's not like taped up. There's no ice packs on him or anything. So exactly what this injury is, don't know. But my guess is maybe he woke up the next morning, felt a little bit bumped and bruised and decided maybe it's best to let the training staff know about it. And they decided, look, we're playing well. We're at home, let's be cautious about this. So again, Trevor Moore is day-to-day upper body injury. He would not play in the game against the Boston Bruins. So if he had been healthy, it would have been 9 games in a row with the same lineup, but he wasn't healthy. So the Kings made one slight change. They stuck with that 12-6 setup that we've seen ever since the trade deadline. The Anze Kopitar line would have Adrian Kempe and Andrei Kuzmenko together again. The Philip Deneau line, though, would see Warren Foegele and Trevor Lewis inserted for Trevor Moore. The Byfield line, Quentin Byfield would be centering Alex Laferriere and Kevin Fiala, and the Samuel Hellenius line had Tanner Jeannot and Alex Turcotte. So again, the 3 forward lines were unchanged. The one that was unchanged, or the one that was changed, was Trevor Lewis in for Trevor Moore, and that was it. Akil Thomas and Trevor Moore were the scratches in this one. The defensive pairings were unchanged. Mikey Anderson with Drew Doughty, Vladislav Gavrikov, Brant Clark, Joel Edmondson, Jordan Spence with Jacob Overar, and Kyle Burrows as the healthy scratches. Darcy Kemper would start in net. David Riddick would serve as the backup in this one. All right, so the big question for me coming into this game, and we'll continue to talk about this pretty much every game the rest of the regular season. Would the Kings do what they need to do, get 2 points, and play 3 solid periods? Obviously, you need the points to try and get that home ice advantage in the first round. You want to be playing your best hockey at this time of the year as you go into the playoffs. So 3 solid periods. Could the Kings do that once again? And also in this particular game, we know the Kings have been pretty much unbeatable at home against the best teams in the NHL. They're literally 11-0 against the top 3 teams in each of the 4 divisions. But they haven't always kept up that standard when playing a team that is a lesser team. Like Boston is not going to be a playoff team this year. So would they be able to rise up and play a strong game against necessarily a not so strong opponent. Well, a scoring summary in this one, just 19 seconds into the game, Kings were down 1-0. But Captain Andrei Kopitar would respond a short time later to even the game at 1-1, and then Warren Fogle would score right before the end of the period, and the Kings had a 2-1 lead after one. Second period, the Kings would give up another early goal, but once again responded with a pair of goals, one by Drew Doughty, the other by Andrei Kuzmenko, and LA had a 4-2 lead after two. Kings close it out, though, with a strong third. Goals from Quentin Byfield, Tanner Jeannot, and Samuel Hellenius. And the Kings beat the Boston Bruins 7-2 to improve to 39-21-9 in the season, 25-3-4 at home, and 11-0-3 in their last 14 home games. That is a new franchise record for consecutive home games without a loss in regulation. As for the Kings, they scored 7 goals, not only in back-to-back games, but on back-to-back nights, just the third time in Kings history that's ever happened. Also, the Kings had 7 different goal scorers for the second straight night. That is pretty unbelievable. As far as the game stats in this one, Kings get the 7-2 win. The shots on goal favored LA 23-13, just 13 shots on goal for Boston. As far as special teams, the Kings didn't get a power play. Boston had 1. They were 0 for 1. Faceoffs favored LA 35-27. Hits favored the Bruins 24-13. Block shots favored LA 12-8. So what was good for the Kings from a team standpoint? Well, obviously great scoring and great balanced scoring. Again, as I mentioned, 7 different goal scorers. Only 2 players on the entire Kings roster in this game against Boston didn't have at least 1 point. Alex Turcotte was the only forward, and Vladislav Gavrikov was the only defenseman. Everyone else had at least 1 point. Great job by the Kings of holding the Bruins to only 13 shots on goal. They had 1 in the third period, and a great job for the Kings bouncing back after a bad start and resiliency coming back from allowing a couple of bad goals and responding the right way on the scoreboard. What was not so good for the Kings from a team standpoint? Well, they had 2 glaring miscues that led directly to goals. The Bruins 2 goals, again, coming directly off of Kings' mistakes. I thought the Kings, and I really don't blame them necessarily for this, I thought they were at times looking to pass a little too much. It's very interesting right now for the Kings over these last 2 games where they are sharing the puck really well. And that is a good thing. To get teammates involved is great, but you still have to have a shot mentality. That still kind of has to be at the core of what the Kings do offensively. And I thought they did a great job of balancing that in the game Saturday against Carolina, and not quite as good a job against the Bruins. There were shots that were passed up earlier in this game. Like I said, once you get a 3 or 4 goal lead and you want to try and spread the wealth, get other players involved, make an extra pass, that's fine. But early in a game, need to be shooting a little bit more. I thought the Kings, if you're looking for things to that they weren't great at, I thought there were some times early in the game where they were passing up some shots, looking to make some fancy plays. Let's get to our coach's quote from head coach Jim Hiller, talking about the Kings setting a new franchise record for consecutive home games with a point. He said, quote, "That one, it's impressive. There's no question. And I think that we share with everybody, with our fans, with the city. That's what I think we're proud about. That's us. That's all of us. We go on the road. You see some Kings jerseys in the stands. They're cheering you on. It's great to have them. But here, this is us. So I think we should all be pretty proud of that, not just the players, but the fans as well." End quote. That was head coach Jim Hiller on, again, the Kings setting a new franchise record for consecutive home games with a point. The big takeaway for me from this game, the Kings look like literally the best team in the NHL at home. They really do. Now, obviously, we shouldn't expect 7 goals per game the rest of the way, although, to be honest, I was surprised they scored 7 goals in back-to-back games. But obviously, getting a lot of players involved, having balanced scoring, contributions from offense and defense, goaltending doing its job as well. Like, the Kings look very dangerous right now, and I know they still need to have some more impressive performances away from home, but right now, you've got to be very encouraged with the way the Kings are playing going down the stretch. This is kind of what we talked about. We looked at the schedule and we're like, okay, the Kings have been great at home. They've got a lot of home games down the stretch. Hopefully that can translate into the Kings playing the right way going into the playoffs. Maybe they can get home ice advantage as well. And it all kind of sets up for what we've wanting to see for a while now. And that's at least a first round playoff victory, at least some progress, some success in the postseason. And look, they still have to do it in the playoffs. This is all great and it's encouraging, but in the end, if they don't do it in the playoffs, then obviously this is really doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot. It's got to be building up and it's got to be leading into that playoff success. But again, I don't know how you couldn't see how the Kings are playing lately, especially at home, and not be very encouraged. All right, up next, we'll get into some of the individual performances in the win over the Bruins. That's next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. Looking for a snack that is both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you keep feeling fuller longer. It is the perfect grab-and-go snack for busy days, whether you're snacking at your desk, on a road trip, or just need a quick protein boost. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein providing all 9 essential amino acids. Whether you're running between meetings or dropping off kids, Wonderful Pistachios is the snack that works as hard as you do. Get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs the protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, let's talk about some of the individual performances in the win over the Boston Bruins. And we will start, as usual, with the goaltender, Darcy Kuemper. Didn't have to come up with a lot of saves as far as number of saves in this one, but he did have some quality saves as well. The 2 goals, though, that he allowed, I mentioned it earlier, were not his fault. The Kings had, on the first goal, just completely blown coverage. 19 seconds in, Anze Kopitar and Joel Edmondson were both playing towards one side of the ice. The Kings had Brandt Clark, Joel Edmondson, and Anze Kopitar were all kind of on one side of the ice, and there was miscommunication. I personally think it was probably more on Joel Edmondson, but a wide open player in front of the net. Nobody around him. He gets the puck. He scores. Not a lot that Darcy Kuemper can do about that. And the second goal was also a mistake by the Kings. Warren Fogle turned it over at the blue line. There was a player wide open in front of the net. Quick pass to him. He scores. So the 2 goals that Darcy Kuemper allows really are not on him. That's on his teammates. That's on poor execution, bad coverage, turnover, things like that. So really not on Darcy Kuemper at all. Now, he only had to turn aside 11 shots, but he did have a few big saves. I think the best moment for him in the game came in the second period when he made back-to-back saves against the Bruins power play. Kuemper right now is definitely locked in. He is 13-0-1 in his last 14 starts at home. That is a record for most consecutive home wins in franchise history. Overall, Kuemper 24-9-7, and now overall at home 15-1-2. But once again, 13-0-1 in his last 14 starts at home. And we mentioned it on a previous show. Darcy Kuemper is absolutely in the running for to be a finalist for the Vezina Trophy. He's not going to win it. Connor Hellebuck of Winnipeg's going to win it. He's got 40 wins. His team is one of the top teams in the NHL. He's having a monster season, but still would be a great honor for Darcy Kuemper to be one of the 3 finalists for that award. It means you're one of the top 3 goalies this season in the NHL. He's definitely in the running for that. Real quick, we almost, I want to say we almost had a goalie fight. We really didn't. But there was a moment in this one where Darcy Kuemper got run into by one of the Bruins players. He took exception to it, understandably so. He ended up grabbing the Bruins player in like a headlock. He ripped his helmet off. Jeremy Swayman, the other goalie for the Bruins, didn't like that. So he comes out to center ice and says, let's go. And Kuemper is like, let's go. And as we've seen recently and including the Kings. A couple years ago, it was Phoenix Copley for the Kings against John Gibson of the Ducks. And the referees won't let goalies fight anymore. I don't know when the NHL apparently sent out this rule that goalies can't fight anymore. Apparently, the goalies haven't gotten the memo because it's been tried a few times. Marc-Andre Fleury of the Minnesota Wild tried to get into a fight, and the referees wouldn't let him. So apparently, the officials have been told no more goalie fights. And I'm not exactly sure why. I can only assume that maybe they've decided that the goaltending position is so important that we can't allow these guys to get into a fight and to get hurt. I know Jim Hiller, after the game, basically those were his comments. He didn't want to see Darcy Kemper get into a fight because obviously he didn't want him to get hurt. And that is perfectly understandable and probably very level-headed. I will say, though, in the moment, as a fan, I wanted to see him go at it. It's most likely, look, these guys can't really fight or don't really fight. They're not used to it, so they probably wouldn't do much damage to each other. But there is always the possibility, and how stupid would we all feel and how awful would we all feel if Darcy Kemper got hurt in a goalie fight and couldn't play in the playoffs. So it was amusing. It was somewhat entertaining, but in the end, probably the right decision that Darcy Kemper not get involved in a fight. All right, how about the forwards for the Kings? Let's start with Quinton Byfield. He scored the Kings' 5th goal of the game. Great feed from Kevin Fiala in this one, but another quality wrist shot from Kevin Fiala in the top left corner of the net. Remember when Q wasn't finishing on scoring chances? We talked about him working on his shot. The hard work is paying off, and he is looking more and more like an emerging star. He is so fun to watch right now. 19 goals on the season, 44 points on the year. He also had a secondary assist on Drew Doughty's goal in this one when he won a faceoff in the Kings zone. He now has a goal in 7 straight home games, does Quinton Byfield. That is tied for 3rd all-time in Kings history. The record's held by Luc Robitaille with a goal in 12 straight home games. But again, 7 straight home games with a goal for Quinton Byfield. Warren Foegele scored the Kings' 2nd goal. Just a great job of going to the net, which we know that Foegele is very good at and likes to do. Got a nice feed from behind the net from Philip Deneau for kind of a tap-in goal. For Foegele, how's this for kind of, lineage, if you will, like all things lining up? 20 goals on the season with that goal for Warren Foegele, tying his career high. He gets his 100th goal of his career with that goal, and he did it in his 500th career game. So 20th goal in his 20th goal of the season, 100th goal of his career in his 500th career game. So that all lined up pretty well. He did have that mistake where he turned it over the blue line, led to a Bruins goal, but otherwise Warren Foegele continues to be an amazing pickup for the LA Kings this offseason. Anze Kopitar scored the 1st goal for the Kings. Great finish on a backhand move. His 18th of the season, 56th point of the year. He's got 5 goals in his last 11 games. Great to see the captain heating up, Anze Kopitar, and the Kopitar line, which has started off slow since Andrei Kuzmenko had joined them. But lately, they've been scoring some 5-on-5 goals, which is great to see. And speaking of Andrei Kuzmenko, he scored the Kings' 4th goal. Jordan Spence with a length of the ice pass. Adrian Kempe skates down, beats out the icing. Kempe then feeds Kuzmenko for a shot that gets through goalie Jeremy Swayman. Another primary assist for Kempe. For Kuzmenko, 2nd goal for the Kings and his 2nd goal in as many games. 8th goal of the season. He's got 23 points. And also, we were told Andrei Kuzmenko was not a very good defensive player, but I have to honestly say, I can't think of one incident where he did something wrong defensively. I'm not saying that he's a great defensive player, but I think he's done fine defensively. He has not been, from what I can see, some huge liability for the LA Kings. And he's made a few nice defensive plays, some steals, and he did again in this one. Drew Doughty scored the Kings' 3rd goal. It would turn out to be the game winner. Mikey Anderson, point shot, rebound comes right to Doughty, and he just blasts it home with a big slap shot. For Drew Doughty, the 159th career goal. He's now 2 away from tying Rob Blake for the most goals by a defenseman in Kings franchise history. Tanner Jeannot had a really good game, and the 4th line continues to contribute. Jeannot scored the Kings' 6th goal of the game, his 7th of the season. Brant Clark with a patient little flip-in shot pass on net And it's kind of by professional standards, a pretty soft pass. And I would think that's one you could easily deflect. Tanner Jeannot did that into the net. But he was skating hard. He was hitting, also had an assist for his 13th point of the season. Again, as that fourth line continues to contribute. And Samuel Hellenius from the fourth line scored the Kings' seventh goal, a nice low shot that found a hole, his second goal of the year and fifth point of the season. So again, great seeing specifically in this one. Look, a lot of people contributed, but I thought the Kopitar line and the Hellenius line were standouts in this one. Pretty interesting to see Kevin Fiala and Adrian Kempe being playmakers in this one. For Fiala, he can do that, and Kempe certainly can as well. But neither of them getting a goal, but Kempe had two primary assists. Fiala had one. Kempe almost scored a goal on a beautiful wraparound chance in the first period, but Jeremy Swayman made the save on him. But that was a great, great opportunity and a pretty good execution. Credit the goaltender on that one. Kempe, though, with his two primary assists, leading the Kings with 58 points. Kevin Fiala had an assist. He's got 48 points. And I did want to mention Trevor Lewis real quick, filling in for the injured Trevor Moore. I thought he played a fine game. I know people were like, oh, my God, I can't believe he's playing on the second line. Of course, it's not really the second line, but he did have an assist on the Warren Foegele goal. So filled in just fine for one game anyway for Trevor Moore. Real quick, the team leaders in the win over Boston, you had goals from Kopitar, Foegele, Doughty, Kuzmenko, Byfield, Jeannot, and Hellenius. Byfield, Jeannot, Kempe, Clark, and Edmondson each had 2-point nights. Byfield and Jeannot led the Kings with 3 shots each. How about Tanner Jeannot tied for the lead in shots on goal? Trevor Lewis led the team with 3 hits. Joel Edmondson had 3 block shots. Vladislav Gavrikov led the Kings in ice time, 23 minutes and 10 seconds. And Philip Deneau led the Kings in the faceoff circle, winning 13 of 19 faceoffs. Up next, we give out our 3 stars of the game and update you on the latest Pacific Division standings. It's good news for the Kings. That's next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you a full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It is a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Let's check our 3 stars of the game. And for the second straight game, there were a lot of people that you could have picked from. I really seriously considered Tanner Jeannot as one of the 3 stars. But in the end, I went with Adrian Kempe as the number 3 star with a pair of beautiful primary assists in this one. Warren Foegele with the 20th goal of the season to tie his career high and the 100th goal of his career, give him the number 2 star. And Quinton Byfield continues to look more and more like the player we all hoped he would turn into. Still got to do it over a full season, but so far, second half of the season, down the stretch, Quinton Byfield is looking more and more like a special player, and that is very exciting to see. As for the Pacific Division standings, the LA Kings are now in second place in the division. Now, the Golden Knights did pick up a win on Sunday. They beat the Lightning. They improved to 42-28 for 92 points. Right now, the LA Kings holding the second spot in the division. They are tied with the Oilers, each with 87 points. The Kings have a record of 39-21-9. The Oilers a record of 41-24-5. The Kings have a game in hand. They've played 69 games. The Oilers have played 70. So because of that, the Kings currently hold the tiebreaker. And right now, if the playoffs started today, which they absolutely do not, the LA Kings would have home ice advantage in the first round of the playoffs against the Edmonton Oilers. The Kings, again, still have a game in hand on Edmonton, and there are 2 huge head-to-head matchups against the Oilers coming up as the season winds down. All right, here is what is up next for the Kings. Here's the week ahead for the Kings. Tuesday, they'll be at home against the New York Rangers. Thursday, a quick road trip to Colorado to face the Avalanche, and then back home for back-to-back games over the weekend again, Saturday against the Maple Leafs, and then Sunday against the San Jose Sharks. As for the Kings' next opponent, the New York Rangers, they are in a battle for a playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. They're currently 1 point behind the Montreal Canadiens for the final wildcard spot in the East, so a motivated team coming in, needing points to try and get into the playoffs. The Rangers are coming off a 5-3 win over the Vancouver Canucks at home this past Saturday. New York is expected to start star goalie Igor Shesterkin against LA, not former Kings Stanley Cup hero Jonathan Quick. After a day off, I would expect Darcy Kemper will once again be starting in net for the Kings, and it'll be interesting to see if Trevor Moore will return to the lineup or not with, again, day-to-day with an upper body injury. As for that game on Tuesday, face-off, 7:30 LA time. You can see it locally on the FanDuel Sports Network, nationally on ESPN Plus, and you can hear it on the 710 ESPN app. For you everydayers, those of you that listen and watch Locked On LA Kings every day, coming up on Tuesday's show, a full recap of the Kings-Rangers game shortly after its conclusion. If you want to stay connected with this show, you want to send us an email. It is lockedoneddie@gmail.com is the email address, EDDIE. You're always welcome to post your thoughts if you're watching on YouTube in the comment section. We'd love you to stay connected with the show through social media, X, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We are at Locked On LA Kings. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thank you for listening and watching this episode of Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Have a great rest of your day. We will talk to you on Tuesday. And as always, go Kings go.